Welcome back to the Smart Driving Cars podcast. We're happy you're with us once again. This edition is sponsored by the Smart ETF's Smart Transportation and Technology ETF, symbol MOTO. For more information, head to motoetf.com. Technical support is provided by CARTS, the Corporation for Automated Road Transportation Safety, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to safe and high-quality mobility for all. I'm Fred Fishkin, along with the Faculty Chair of Autonomous Vehicle Engineering at Princeton University, Alain Kornhauser. Hi, Alan.
Hey, good morning, Fred.
Good morning. We are less than a month away, Alan, from the 5th annual Princeton Smart Driving Cars Summit. Some bumps on the road, we could say, but it looks like we're getting to the destination. That's the big thing. Let's give folks an update.
Yes, I guess we've had, sort of course you have a couple bumps and you have to pivot a couple of times too. But it's really coming together, and I'm just so thrilled with all of the positive enthusiasm for this. And it's mostly for all the right reasons. Is that as you know, the focus of this summit is to really get deployment, enough with testing, and get to finally delivering some positive societal value out of all this investment in this technology. And really, that's the focus of the summit, is to move that process along. It's great that all of this investment's been made. It's great of all the wonderful tests and so on. But it's time to really move people and improve their lives.
Well, let's talk about what the program is looking like now, and what we're hoping to achieve through all of this.
Yeah, well, the program, as it's been in the past, with the summit, is there. The first evening is a meet and greet in my house, and then the crux of the scholarly aspect of this is on the first day, and then the second day has been extensions of that aspect, and that still is the fundamental structure of this. We had planned originally to do a festival on the second day, and to do a festival in where people who could most benefit from this actually live. I think that my dream of doing that was probably a little bit too not optimistic, but a little bit too large. I think that the key to doing it, we had enormous support from everybody to do it at Donnelly Homes in Trenton, is that the key to making that be successful is not only to have an enormous number of people actually benefit from that experience, but also to make sure, as we're doing the experience, those that for whatever reason had their own lives to lead during that weren't basically encumbered by it. And so that's a very, very tricky situation. The objective is clear, the constraint is also clear, and it just turned out that to have that much of a success would imply that some, probably few, but still some, might not necessarily be that thrilled by it. And so I think at this point, I think it's much better that we sort of scale back the success piece and completely avoid the negative piece. And I think that in doing that, we're going to do the Saturday portion. It really what is the right place to do it is at the Carl Field Center for Equity at Princeton University, and then right next door at Tiger Inn, we can have displays of vehicles and so on and so forth. And all of that is right next to where we will be doing the scholarly part of the this summit on Friday, which is near Sheridan Hall, where my office is, in the Friends Center of the School of Engineering and Applied Science. And in a sense, it just brings everything together. And what we can do is really those who really wanted to participate in this from Donnelly Homes, well, we can bring them to the Carl Field Center and take them home. And then also have the engagement of the Trenton High School students who are interested in STEAM and STEM and participate in the development of this deployment, and have them participate with us. We had thought of also tried to do it at Trenton High School. Unfortunately, on the 4th, the day that we wanted to do this is Educational Testing Services SAT testing, from until basically 2:00 in the afternoon. And of course, you can't come close to disrupting any of that. My goodness, ETS will invalidate tests. I mean,
Right.
that is a hard constraint. You just can't do that. So,
But what you're doing with the students on the Friday, and some may be there if they're not taking the test on Saturday, will
Saturday.
be able to come too.
Absolutely, and in fact, there are many dates for the test, many places for the test. So in fact, I don't think that we will miss many students because they're taking the test. Plus, after they take the test, we'll bring them on up to Princeton to, the tail end of the darn thing. So that, and they can participate on Friday because we set up another parallel session on Friday to include them in how they can participate in the deployment of this, and in the sociology of the deployment. Again, enormous amounts have been expended on the technology. So little has been spent on the sociology and the involvement of kids. This is their future as part of deployments, as part of this, is, to me, absolutely critical. So we're actually going to have more involvement of them because we've changed a little bit the construct. So as it turns out, it is as close to perfection as I think I can do things.
And there are some companies that had been making a lot of progress here who are going to be taking part in this.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. I mean, some have, of course, for various reasons, I don't know what they are, but decided not to come. I guess, as I like to say, they have better fish to fry, and that's good. I mean, great. Hopefully, there's again better fish to fry somewhere else. But we do have three, absolutely competent entities that I believe can do Trenton Moves. The objective is to get to deployment Trenton Moves. GM Cruise is with us. Beep, with their new partnership with Mobileye, is with us, and May Mobility, and there may be some others. So those are three entities that really, I guess, have looked at this, and when they did the balance of expected value to expected risk, ended up with the scale this way instead of the scale that way, and are participating, and we're so thrilled that they are. I really, Walmart has, I don't know if to what extent they will, but Walmart sees the value absolutely in what we're trying to do with Trenton Moves. In fact, their enthusiasm has caused us, in terms of our thought of what the original operational design domain should be in serving Trenton. We've had to have it a little bit, not just Trenton, go to start out at New Jersey DOT for headquarters for obvious reasons, of testing out the technology and so on, making sure before it goes to the operational design domain to serve everybody in Trenton, but also to extend a little bit outside of Trenton because there's not a Walmart in Trenton. The nearest Walmart is in Hamilton Township. And so to extend out to Hamilton Township so that, my goodness, um, you know, for many of us, it's trivial to get to a Walmart because we have a car. Okay. For someone who doesn't have a car, can't walk to it. And all of a sudden, the realization that this mobility opportunity that we're providing, not only to get people to work, get people to a Walmart. I'm sure Walmart can deliver if you can get on the web and whatever and so on and do and deliver things for you. But the opportunity, you look at if you don't have a car, you got to go to your neighbor. Hey, when you're going, take me with you, whatever. And all you're begging, borrowing, and hopefully not stealing, to get to a Walmart. Come on. And the beauty of the Trenton Moves concept is, my goodness, allow anybody to get to a Walmart, and I think that, they've really picked up on that, not to speak for them. Of course, I don't speak for them, absolutely not. But just that concept, and that concept should go to a lot of others. The concept, I'm going to go down to Task, the Trenton area soup kitchen on Monday, and talk to the Amazon recruiter that comes there each Monday morning, and talk to him or her about, my goodness, the biggest, I think, probably the biggest problem challenge you have is getting workers to your Amazon distribution center in Robbinsville. Okay. If you don't have a car. And, and some of the jobs there, not to say that, some of the jobs there, especially maybe at the third shift, are, with people who don't have a lot of needs. And that is a very important job for them to feed their family. And all of a sudden to be able to, get a job to feed their family and be there reliably and not get fired because they don't show up on time, punch in on time and not reliable and so on and so forth. That's what you have. You have to have high quality mobility, reliable mobility like what we have with the cars that we have. If you don't have one of those, where are you? You don't have a chance. You don't have a chance of improving yourself. And it's
all about quality of life, as you've said over and over again.
Over and over. This is not rocket science. This is not a big concept. We've done all this for affordable affordable housing. We have laws in New Jersey that require communities to create affordable housing. They hit them over the head. Create affordable housing. You've got to. Where do the communities end up doing? Well, on affordable land. And guess where that is? Just because it's affordable land, guess what? Not that much value. That's where it's probably not near anything. Guess what you have to be able to. So all of a sudden we have an opportunity with this technology to deliver affordable mobility to affordable land, creating affordable living. Whew, that, my goodness, wow. And why everybody isn't clamoring to just do this, be the central focus. Sure, we want to improve safety. Of course, we want it to be safe. Oh my goodness, the societal value of creating affordable living out of affordable housing with affordable mobility. Whoa. And what's been most pleasing to me is that a lot of people in Trenton get it and want to do it for that reason. And sort of a lot of others, and I think GM Cruise, I think Beep and May Mobility all get it. And that's what they want to do. And that's why they're coming. And that's why we're embracing them. And in the scholarly discussions that we will have on Friday, where, I'm pushing the concept, and we will discuss
And the other aspect of this, we shouldn't downplay it at all, and that's the educational component of this with the students in Trenton. You've been there. Carts has been there already, sowing some seeds here.
Oh, absolutely. And it's, and they get it. They get it. And the superintendent of schools gets it, immediately. Oh my goodness, in Trenton, you have to live more than a mile and a half away from the school for anybody to provide you mobility. Otherwise, you're walking. Of course, I joke around. I walked 27 miles uphill in 5 feet of snow both ways when I went to school. Why can't they? But the reality of this situation, especially COVID and even before COVID and after COVID, some kids, especially on a day like today, which isn't all that great, but it is a Saturday here in Jersey, they may choose to stay home instead of coming to school. All because they don't have, half decent mobility to get there. All of a sudden, these automated vehicles that are, just run with one of these guys. All of a sudden, I like to say, sitting there like little puppy dogs. Can I take you to school? Why not? It's got nothing better to do, really. Let's put it out there and do it. This thing doesn't care. They'll do it. This is what we're going to give to them, and of course, they should be part and parcel of the beginning of this. It's their future. It's so to me, again, another no-brainer of all this. And I guess, this is what the summit will be all about. And we have a number of folks from all around the world coming to basically inform us of lessons they've learned, so that we can learn from them, as well as impart to them and discuss with them what it is that we really want to do with this. And I it just hasn't been the message up to this point, or at least maybe I'm just blind, or I'm stupid, or I don't know what, or whatever.
Don't think so.
However you want to put
some of the keynotes,
whatever.
Some of the keynotes are exciting too. From you've got the state transportation commissioner scheduled, and a former Princeton student, right?
Yeah,
Who's
no,
now at
well,
the DOT.
Yeah. Well, he's a non-trivial guy. I mean, he's there as basically, responsible for the research and development at USDOT. I mean, he is the guy, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but at least in the discussions that I've had with him, and when I've looked into his eyes, he sees it. Okay, maybe he's just being nice to me and so on, whatever. But I guess some people are sometimes nice to me, Fred. I'm not sure. Maybe not. But no.
We're talking about Robert Hampshire, right?
And we're talking about Robert Hampshire. I mean, really quality individual, and they're struggling with really trying to make what is transportation. Transportation is a fundamental asset meant to improve each of our lives, and really wants to do this, I think.
Class of 07. Now, you and CART's executive director, Jerry Ho, were interviewed by PAVE this week. This was a virtual panel, took place Wednesday, focused on what you're working on with Trenton and what you're trying to accomplish. So we would encourage people to go take a look at that video, even to get a fuller sense of what's planned.
Yeah, well, they gave us a platform and we took it. I mean, what can I tell you? I mean, it was very nice of them to give us a platform. But, yes, we are coming at this from one perspective. There are other perspectives. And of course, we think, we have a good one. Other people think they have a good one. What can I tell you? That if you want to, it's just our perspective. We appreciate all the other ones too, but we think this is a really good one.
And the video, people can find it at pavecampaign.org. The video is under events. We'll be back, but this is a good time to remind you about our sponsor, the Smart ETF's Smart Transportation and Technology ETF, symbol MOTO. To get more info, head to motoetf.com. On the website, look for a white paper. It's called The Smart Transportation Revolution. It's under the Insights and News tab. Some great information there that can help you make informed decisions about investing. You may know ETFs can be a good way to spread risk with investments and maybe focus on a particular category of stocks. That website again is motoetf.com. We are back with more of Smart Driving Cars. Alan Teslarati is reporting that Tesla, in the company's 2021 impact report, is saying that their vehicles using Autopilot are 8 times less likely to be involved in an accident compared to the total U.S. vehicle fleet. That report was released on Friday, and people can check that out at Teslarati. I guess it's something Elon Musk has been saying all along.
Yeah, it is, and I hope that I still have to take a close look at it. Not that I'm doubting it. I think fundamentally they should be okay. And yes, we do hear about crashes, but if there were really a lot of them, we'd really hear about a lot of them. And also, I think that one has to be extremely careful when one does these analyses, so that in fact, the bias is taken out of the comparison process, to make sure one is actually comparing apples and apples, oranges to oranges. In statistics and dealing with data, that is a non-trivial process. It's just extremely hard, how autopilot is used is in some sense biased in some ways, in terms of where it is, what roads it's being used on, the times, by the people, and so on and so forth. Those aren't necessarily representative of the whole for which the comparison is being made. So one has to be very careful of taking out those biases and getting it to instead of an apple and sort of apple, or orange and sort of orange comparison, to a real apple and apple, orange to orange comparison. And I'm not suggesting that anybody is just not is being sloppy or something like that in their analysis. And in fact, one could probably, since the difference is so large, okay, that in fact it can withstand some of the bias challenges, because 8x is a big X. It's not 1.8x. It's not whatever 1.08x. 8x is a big difference, and so maybe the difference isn't quite all that big, or maybe be bigger. When you really went to apples and apples and oranges to oranges. But this is an enormous indication that the value of some automation of some of the driving functions for the driving does in fact bail out the driver. One of the aspects of the safety aspect of driving, at least it's my contention, and so people can say I'm just totally off and screwy, is that when we're paying attention and when we're careful, we are absolutely fantastic drivers. What gets us into trouble, and I know it gets me into trouble, is whenever I flip out, whenever I have road rage for who knows what reason, whenever I'm drowsy, whatever too much, whenever I'm who knows what too much, and whenever I'm doing this too much, or whenever I'm looking at my screen too much. One of the faults, Elon, he put such a big, if he could do that without the big, it'd be a whole heck. I think he'd be maybe 20x better. never mind. But that's when we get into trouble. Okay. And that's when you go bang. And the numbers out there that have been quoted for who knows how long, 90-some% of the crashes are a result of human involvement. I say human misbehavior. Okay. And whether it's 90-some% or 80-some% or even 50-some%, it is a big number. Rarely does a wheel fall off. Yes, sure, sometimes a boulder comes out of the sky on whatever, or an asteroid or something, sure. Yeah, but those numbers, those are small. Okay. It mostly is on us when we're not paying attention and we're misbehaving. Guess what some of this automation does? It bails us out because it really doesn't misbehave. Maybe it doesn't know what the heck's going on much of the time, but it doesn't misbehave the way we misbehave. It doesn't completely lose attention. Sure, it has some blue screens. Sure, sometimes it whatever. But my goodness, those in conjunction with our driving, it does not surprise me that one should get a result like we're getting, that it's many X better.
Tesla is also saying that Tesla was saying that drivers of its vehicles on autopilot are, I think it's maybe 2 or 3 times safer than those who are not using autopilot. But again, I don't know what we're.
But again, it's the question is when do you use autopilot? Maybe you only use autopilot when the driving is easy, and when the driving isn't easy, you're in there turning it off, and therefore the probability you're going to crash is higher. And again, it's not a perfect apples to apples, orange to orange. Okay, and maybe they've really done their statistics properly to take out that bias. So it really is comparing in the exact same driving environment with the exact same driver characteristics and making sure that it's an apples to apples. Okay. But even if it isn't, these numbers are big. It suggests, my goodness, there is fundamental value in this technology helping the driver. And, instead of, trying to knock down Elon for all this, we should applaud him. Maybe we knock him down because of the way he sold it and the way he named it, the way he promoted it. And maybe we needed those names, those initiatives for us to pay attention and buy it. Okay. And so maybe, the means has justified it because of the end.
Well, we also have to distinguish between this autopilot and what he calls full self-driving. 2 different things, in a sense.
Maybe we do, maybe we don't. Okay. And look, at least.
Well, one costs $12,000 and one doesn't. That's one thing, right?
Well, sure, but apparently the people that have paid the $12,000, at least the people that I know, and again, that's an enormously biased set of people, okay? Not necessarily representative of what's out there, have gladly paid the $12,000 because my goodness, if the probability that it saves my life, okay, because it worked when I was not paying attention, how much am I willing to pay for that? I'm willing to pay a hell of a lot for that. Sorry. Okay. Maybe I can afford it. Okay. And in some sense, the comfort and the peace of mind that I get that in case I flip out, which I do all too often, okay, this thing is going to, hey, Alan, cool it. We got you. Okay. To me, my goodness. And so, to others, hey, it would be nice if he made it available cheaper. Okay. I think, I don't know. I don't want to discuss his business motives here and his business cases and his pricing initiatives. But, it isn't that crazy. And, I would have appreciated he did it, in a more holistic way. But boy, I think in part, I think if I look at it, maybe the end justifies the means.
Another story to get to. TechCrunch is saying that Aurora has unveiled a fleet management platform to optimize autonomous operations. They're calling it Aurora Beacon. The system is aimed, of course, at the company's trucking and ride-hailing products, which is what you would expect this to be aimed at.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know what that is. I mean, a lot of I dealt with trying to optimize the use of trucks and so on. Whether you have a human driver in there or not a human driver, I don't know. I guess I don't know. I don't know if it really changes much. But anyway, never mind. I don't know. Maybe.
I had a Techstination interview this week with a company called Momentum Dynamics. They're in Malvern, Pennsylvania. They're one of the companies involved in wireless charging for electric vehicles. They're out there with a system that could prove important, I think, in deploying robo-taxis that can be charged bits at a time while parked, especially in a kiosk type of setting. So you don't need as big of a battery, for one thing, they're saying, because with these types of vehicles anyway, because they're being charged multiple times a day, and they're saying it's better for the battery too.
Yes. I mean, the only answer to that one is yes, of course. I think looking at kind of the kiosks are a lot of people look at that and say, well, why isn't it like Uber and Lyft that can pick me up at my kitchen door? Huh. Well, unfortunately, if you do that, the probability you're going to have any ride sharing is essentially zero. Okay. And so, to me, ride sharing is really important for sustainability reasons, for affordability reasons. These are big reasons. Okay. Because if this isn't affordable, it's not going to see the light of day. I mean, who's going to support all that? I mean, the state of New Jersey is not rich enough.
Well, this could mean you don't have to pay somebody to come over and physically plug a plug into a vehicle, and what makes a lot of sense, doesn't
it? I mean, that's why I said yes. And of course, guess what happens with these? I use the elevator analogy, and people are just sick of me because I continue to use the elevator analogy. But here it is, a system you can just look at that operates today to envision the operation of this thing, this Trenton Moves. You almost don't even need to do an animation. Let's just go look in an elevator, okay, in a building. It sits there waiting for a customer most of the time. Where? At kiosks. Or, okay, they're called floors. Oh, all right, we'll call them floors now so that everybody understands. In some sense, rarely are they moving up and down compared to when they're sitting there. And as I like to say, like little puppy dogs waiting for attention. Well, when you're sitting there waiting for attention, why don't you just, charge me up? And I think their approach and their thing in there is that then you don't need a very big batteries.
Right.
You really don't, because if you look at the duty cycle throughout the day of any of the vehicles, you have plenty of time to charge them. Okay, and how many chargers you need? Well, you need if you have 60 kiosks, like 60 of them. Maybe you don't even need it all. You can just move them around to the next one, whatever. And since what the load is on the battery, and you have a really good expectation of what the demand's going to be, the management algorithm. I mean, any one of my students can write it trivially. Boom, shoom, boom. Got it. And we can announce it what did they announce? I mean, well, optimally do. I mean, it's not even a homework assignment.
One of the cool things that they have on their site, they have a demonstration of how this works in any kind of weather, through ice and snow. It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, sure. But as I said, through maybe parts of today, we wouldn't operate Trenton Moves because the weather is just too lousy. Okay. And sometimes the snow is too deep. And sometimes, it might be fog. We're not, with Trenton Moves, we don't want to solve the fog problem. We don't want to solve the snow problem. We don't want to solve the heavy rain hurricane problem. Okay. Because if you look in New Jersey, there are like 350 days a year in which you don't have those problems. So let's do that first. Let's get 350 days worth of value out of this darn thing, as opposed to say, oh no, I've got to have 365.25, otherwise we're not doing anything. I mean, where does that come from? Who thinks that way? I don't know. At least I don't. Never mind.
Providing mobility, what it's all about.
Yeah,
hey,
right.
Alan,
I think so. I don't know. Whatever.
Alan, you have a day job that we want to mention that you've had for a little while now. What, 50 years?
Yeah. No, actually, the day job, 50, almost 52, but only 50 at Princeton, whatever.
Well, this past week, the senior thesis symposium took place, and from what I understand, you've got a lot to be proud of here. Talk about
I'm still director of undergraduate studies in operations research and financial engineering at Princeton, and we have 65 seniors this year. I think we're the fourth largest department on campus, believe it or not. And we had our senior thesis symposium. One of the really crown jewels of the education is a senior thesis. Each student gets to spend a year basically one-on-one with a faculty member working on something that they want to work on. It's absolutely phenomenal part of the education. I think essentially everybody that comes back on their 25th reunion talks about what senior thesis and it's just phenomenal. And we have a symposium every year in which we have a bunch of parallel sessions and so on, where they all get to present their senior theses, and then we had we picked out the 8 best faculty pick, and then we had another session with just the 8 best, so that all the faculty, because you can only sit in one of the parallel sessions, so that at least all the faculty could sit there and appreciate what the best of the best did. And it was just, it was knock your socks off, just phenomenal. And so if you go to the e-letter that I'm about to put out, you get to the link and you can see some of this. Wow. Just absolutely, great stuff on great topics that are enormously relevant, and just so proud of the whole thing. So if somebody wants to kind of take a look at what's coming out of, yes, we are somewhat of a leading institution, and we are absolutely blessed with absolutely phenomenal kids coming in. They can take a look.
Makes us excited about what's to come from these kids.
Oh, I'm not worried about the future.
Well, again, a reminder about the summit coming up the beginning of June. For more info, you can head to cartsmobility.com. Thank you to our sponsor, the Smart ETF's Smart Transportation and Technology ETF. The ticker symbol for the ETF is MOTO. More info is available at motoetf.com. Technical support is provided by CARTS, the Corporation for Automated Road Transportation Safety, and they are a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to safe and high-quality mobility for all. You can find us and the newsletter at smartdrivingcar.com, also on Anchor FM, Spotify, TuneIn, Apple, Google, Spreaker, wherever you get your podcasts from. Smart speakers can play us too. You can find my tech reports at techstination.com I'm Fred Fishkin along with Alain Kornhauser. Thank you for listening or watching. Please continue to stay safe.
Thank you, everybody, for joining in.